May 29th, 2014, a birthday party is taking place in Englewood, Chicago, on the 5700 block of South LaSalle Street. And in attendance at this party are four men. A man named Malcolm Stuckey, who's chilling at this party with two unnamed friends of his. And also at the party is Davon Bennett, better known nowadays as King Von, the rapper from Chicago's O Block. Now, at a certain point during this party, Malcolm and his homies are steady eyeballing King Von, who decides at this point to briefly leave the party. He goes away and allegedly gets his homie Michael Wade, aka Big Mike. Now, Big Mike later told the police that he had gone to this party with King Von with the intention of acting as muscle for Von, who had planned to confront the person who had been mean mugging him. And when Von and Big Mike got back to the party around 45 minutes later, they parked up in an alleyway. Allegedly at this point, they both got out with loaded guns and proceeded to the front porch of the property where they opened fire on Malcolm Stuckey and the two other men. Apparently they ended up firing over 20 shots. Malcolm Stuckey was unfortunately fatally wounded in the head. Meanwhile, the two other men attempted to flee, one into the house and the other down the street. However, unfortunately, once again, both were hit by gunshots, but ultimately they both survived. At this point, allegedly, Von and Big Mike ran back to their car and fled the scene. But of course, this was a serious charge that neither of them could run from for long. And within a few weeks, they were both in custody. Big Mike was charged first with murder and 2 counts of attempted murder. And within 2 weeks, King Von is picked up on the same murder and double attempted murder charges. However, during the process of being arrested, questioned, and processed by the cops, Big Mike made one big mistake. According to the Chicago drill subreddit Chiracology, whilst being questioned by the cops, Mike apparently admitted letting off shots, but suggesting that he was not the one who did the killing, inferring that Von was indeed the true murderer. Now, it's possible that this comment just started out as a simple incriminating slip-up, which Mike was just trying to correct by suggesting that he wasn't the killer. But we would later find out that apparently Mike was in talks with the cops to flip on Von and snitch on him directly being the killer. But meanwhile, over in the other interview room, Von had decided to completely keep his mouth shut, not saying a word to the feds, choosing instead to sit in his cell and await his trial. And so with these numerous charges stacked on top of each other, we're talking a murder, double attempted murder, and gun charges, it was looking like Von might be facing over 100 years in jail.
So the murder said they want 20 years for the murder. Say I get found good, they give me 20 years for the murder. Plus the gun has been lost, that's 21 years. So that's 41 years, that's just for the murder. And I got 2 attempt murders. I said they give me 21 years, 85 for 1 attempt in out of the attempt. 21, 42. So it's 42 plus the next other 2 times 21. And that's a lot of fucking years.
So Von sat in jail for an excruciating 3.5 years, just waiting around for his murder case to finally go to court. The delay was partly due to the feds struggling to find witnesses and the murder weapon, which apparently didn't surface until over a year after the incident took place. However, once the case did go to trial, King Von ended up being the beneficiary of perhaps one of the biggest accidental finesses in Chicago crime history. The King Von murder trial didn't go exactly as the prosecutors were expecting. Now, it had turned out that Big Mike had indeed cut a deal with the feds to flip on Von and try and pin the murder charge on him. But in an explosive last-minute twist, Mike reneged on the deal and refused to spill the beans on his slime. As a result, the court ended up finding Mike guilty, with the judge slapping a hefty additional sentence on Mike as punishment, with Mike reportedly getting 16 years just for the murder and another 12 purely for punishment for backing out of the snitch deal. 28 years in total. But as things continued, the prosecution's case against Von began to unravel. Bear in mind, it had taken prosecutors over a year to find the murder weapon, and when it did finally surface, Von had already been sitting in jail for this charge for quite some time. So with him in jail once this weapon does turn up, it made it even harder for prosecutors to try and pin this gun on him. Meanwhile, the prosecutors had originally been counting on a couple of witnesses to try and at least pin Von to the crime scene, but in the end, witnesses ended up not coming to trial, leaving the prosecutors empty-handed and Von's involvement in this killing in doubt. And this is a fact which is even more sensational when you look at some of the lyrics that King Von has dropped in the years that have followed this case. For example, on the song What's Next with Jizzle Bucks, Von drops lyrics that seem to reference the 28-year sentence that Big Mike got for this murder, calling him out for talking reckless and even suggesting that maybe a witness was killed. He said he told on me before he got a longer sentence. I think they gave him 28, he'd rather talk than listen. Bitch was the only one that told. They killed the other witness. Now I'm just balling, I'm just flexing like my OTF necklace. That is some wild shit. So, however the fuck he managed to pull it off, after spending 3.5 years in jail waiting for the trial, Von completely beats this case, getting off not guilty, and immediately becomes a free man. Hell, even the gun dealer that sold the gun that was used in this killing ended up getting more time than Von spent sat in jail, with this one-man Chirac ammunition catching 5.5 years. Apparently the gun used in the Big Mike King Von murder had been purchased 2 months before the incident from a licensed firearm dealer by a man named Jonathan Smalley, who was apparently reselling legally acquired guns back into the Chicago gang community for profit. One of the guns recovered from his case was even connected to fellow Chirac legend Lil Reese. In fact, this case even revealed that the same gun that was used to kill Malcolm Stuckey was used in a second shooting in Chicago only days later. But who cares about some arms dealer getting half a decade in jail, when King Von completely beat his murder, came home and had all of the Chirac villains celebrate. And so after having spent a long 3.5 years in jail, Von was finally a free man and had decided to start a new life. And with a fresh backstory involving murder and gangbanging under his belt, it would naturally make sense that he would try and parlay that rough reputation into dollars by becoming a rapper. And apparently Von's transition to microphone assassin from regular assassin happened naturally after he had spent a lot of time with his day one homie and fellow Chirac rap legend Lil Durk. And while I would probably call myself a fan of King Von's music, not everybody was thrilled at his new career choice. The sister of Malcolm Stuckey, that murder victim in Mike and Von's case, took to social media after discovering Von's new career choice to call him a clown and a murderer. But Von hasn't let his haters or any simple sense of human decency stop him, because since beating that case, he has made countless street anthems filled with references to shootings, murders, and all kinds of violent street crime that is common to the kind of rough upbringing in Chicago that he experienced. And with his incredible storytelling skills and his uncanny ability to write narrative-driven, slick street sonnets like his Crazy Story series, has transformed him into one of the most feared, hyped, and fascinating acts in modern-day hip-hop. However, unfortunately, even with his positive career change moving from his native Chirac over to Atlanta to focus on his career, Von hasn't quite managed to stay out of trouble. So look out for the next and final video in this trilogy of King Von Come Up videos, where we'll be taking a closer look at King Von and Lil Durk's recent shooting charges in Atlanta. Hope you enjoyed that video. Shout out to the patrons. In fact, if you would like your name at the end of my videos, the opportunity to pick one of my story ideas every single month, and to have me rap your name in an exclusive song in the outro of that video, just like I did in my Rise of XXXTentacion video, then head on over to patreon.com/TraplawRoss, where you can sign up, get your suggestion in for next month's video topic, and vote on your pick for this month's topic. Patreon.com/TraplawRoss. Head on over there, I would really appreciate it. Thanks for watching, guys. Until next time, peace out.